welcome to The Explainer. If you're an orchid grower, you know that sinking feeling, right? You spot one tiny, fluffy white speck, and before you know it, it's a full-on invasion. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the technical side of things and turning it into your personal step-by-step battle plan to finally, and I mean for good, win the war against those stubborn orchid pests.
So if you've ever felt like you're in a losing fight against these tiny invaders on your most prized orchids, listen, you're not imagining things. It's not that you're doing something wrong. The truth is their entire biology, from their body armor to how they reproduce, is basically a masterclass in survival. All right, let's meet the two main villains of our story, mealybugs and scale insects. On the left, you've got the mealybug. It covers itself in this waxy, cottony fluff that's literally water repellent. It's like a waterproof winter coat, which is why your sprays just beat up and roll right off. Then on the right, you have scale, which takes it to a whole other level. It builds a literal suit of armor for itself out of old skin and wax. These defenses make them almost invincible to your average attack. Okay, so let's get strategic. To defeat an enemy, you have to understand them. And for these pests, their entire game plan is just to reproduce over and over again. If we can understand their life cycle, we can find that one weak spot, that one chink in their armor, and that's where we're going to strike. Now this is the key to the entire operation. Take a look at this table. See that crawler row? And that big, beautiful word, high, under chemical susceptibility? That is our bullseye. This is the pest's Achilles heel. You see, for just a few days after hatching, they're on the move, they're naked, and they have zero armor. They are completely vulnerable. The eggs and the adults, they're basically untouchable. So our whole plan is going to revolve around hitting them in that crawler stage. All right, so we found their weak spot. Now let's talk about weapons. And this isn't about brute force. It's not about just spraying more chemicals. We're going to be smart about this. We're going to use a strategic 1-2 punch that combines simple physics with a little bit of biochemistry to get around their defenses and just completely wreck their life cycle. Weapon number 1 is probably something you already have in your medicine cabinet: isopropyl alcohol. Think of this as your special forces, your shock troops. It's a solvent, which means it instantly melts that waxy armor right on contact. And once that armor's gone, well, the alcohol just pulls all the moisture out of the insect's body. It's devastatingly effective. Okay, weapon number 2 is neem oil. And if alcohol is our shock troop, then neem oil is the saboteur working behind enemy lines. This stuff is way more subtle. It contains a compound that acts as an insect growth regulator. So instead of killing them on contact, it gets inside them and messes with their hormones, which means the young nymphs can never mature into adults. It basically traps them in adolescence until they just die off. All right, now this next part is maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle. 8 weeks. Your battle plan has to last for 8 weeks. And you might be asking, why so long? Well, it's because you're not just fighting the bugs you can see today. You're fighting all the eggs that are going to hatch next week and the week after that. An 8-week campaign ensures that you outlast their entire reproductive cycle, and you kill every last crawler before it has a chance to grow up and start the problem all over again. So, here it is. This is the heart of the mission, the non-negotiable, week-by-week protocol that will lead you to victory. If you follow this to the letter, you're going to win this war. And here's how that whole 8-week strategy breaks down. Week 1 is all about shock and awe. We hit them hard and fast to take out as many adults as possible. Then, weeks 2 through 4, that's the interception phase. We are relentlessly hunting down those vulnerable little crawlers right as they hatch. And then the final stretch, weeks 5 through 8, is all about life cycle interruption, wiping out any last survivors and making sure this infestation is over for good. Let's break down that week 1 assault. First thing you do, quarantine that plant. Get it away from all the others. Second, you go on a search and destroy mission. Take a cotton swab, dip it in alcohol, and manually wipe off every single bug you can find. Third, and this is super important for orchids like cattleyas, you have to remove all those dry, papery sheaths. Pests absolutely love to hide in there. Then you give the whole plant a thorough spray down, and finally, you drench the pot with a systemic insecticide, which basically turns the plant itself into a poison trap. Now for the long haul, weeks 2 through 8. The key word here is consistency. You must reapply your contact spray every 7 days. This is non-negotiable. That timing is designed specifically to catch those crawlers in their window of vulnerability. Now listen, I know it's going to happen. Around week 4 or 5, you're going to look at your plant and think, hey, it looks clean. I think I'm done. Do not stop. That's how they win. You have to finish the full 8 weeks to win the war.
Okay, so you've got the basic strategy, but some infestations are tougher than others. So let's cover some special ops tactics for handling those heavily fortified enemy positions and talk about when it's time to call in the heavy artillery. These pests don't fight out in the open. They dig in. They find little strongholds and fortify them, so you have to know where to look. For a Cattleya, they're hiding under those papery sheaths. On a Phalaenopsis, they're tucked deep down in the crown where the leaves meet. They can even hide on the roots of a Cymbidium. You have to be a detective and take the fight to them wherever they're hiding. So, what do you do for a really, really bad case of that hard, armored scale? There's a sort of nuclear option that veteran growers call the right formula. The secret ingredient here is Formula 409. It's a degreaser and it's fantastic at stripping away that tough, waxy armor, letting the alcohol get in and do its job. Now, this is aggressive stuff, so the key is to rinse the plant thoroughly with clean water after the solution dries. Hey, remember that systemic drench from the week 1 checklist? This is the heavy artillery I was talking about. This is for the enemies you can't even see, the ones hiding deep inside the plant's tissues or down in the roots. You use a systemic insecticide like imidacloprid as a drench. The roots absorb it, and the plant's own sap becomes poisonous. So when the pests feed, they die. It kills them from the inside out. It's the ultimate internal defense.
Okay, so you've done it. The 8 weeks are up. You've won the war, but the job's not over. Now you have to win the peace. Let's talk about how to turn your growing area into a permanent no-go zone, so these pests never, ever come back.
Here's your long-term defense strategy. First, increase air movement. Get a small fan. Pests, especially those little crawlers, hate a windy environment. They just can't settle down. Second, adjust your feeding. A little extra calcium and magnesium helps the plant build tougher cell walls, literally making it harder for pests to bite into. And third, and this is a big one, get rid of any ants. Ants are basically pest farmers. They'll protect mealybugs and scale in exchange for their sugary secretions. Get rid of the ants, and you get rid of the pest's bodyguard. So, in the end, you've won. Your orchids are safe. But what's the real takeaway here? This entire battle plan, it wasn't about finding a stronger poison. It was about understanding a complex, hidden system. Success came from identifying a weakness in a life cycle, exploiting a vulnerability in their defense, and disrupting their allies. And it's a pretty powerful reminder that the best solutions often come not from more brute force, but from more knowledge, and using that knowledge to restore balance.